Daredevil is such an efficient fighter. He can move and dodge through a flurry of strikes as if he sees things in slow motion. He doesn't actually see, as his character is blind, but he makes up for it with his heightened super senses. He has super hearing and a really sensitive sense of touch. His tactile sensitivity is off the charts. But in the comics, he also has a radar sense. It kind of works the same way a bat has echolocation. Why didn't they call him Batman? Anyway, what if I told you that we can develop a realistic version of this radar sense for real life? In today's Art of Warcat, we're going to look at examples such as certain combat sports fighters who almost adopt this Daredevil level reflexes and senses. And I'm going to show you 3 drills that you can use that will rewire your brain to a degree and adopt this same thing where you can have your own Daredevil radar sense. Let's look at some radar archetypes in combat sports. The first that comes to mind is a prime Anderson Silva. In his prime, he was almost untouchable. He also was able to lure and bait his opponents with his hands down, making them and forcing them mistakes so that it opened them up for his counter punches. Then you had boxing's Pernell Whitaker, one of the most untouchable boxers of all time, arguably one of the best defenders of all time. He may have even won a round without throwing a single punch. He was that good, and what made him good is his ability to center his vision and then anticipate every move his opponents make. And in Muay Thai, we have the eel, Lerdsilla, so slippery, he was literally untouchable. He could dodge and sway, high kicks, anything that comes at him, he was ready for. Now, what these 3 fighters have in common, other than being able to bait and anticipate what their opponents will do, it's how they centered their vision. What I mean by that is they are looking at the bigger picture of their opponent, not the finer details. So let's take a look. If you were to just focus or critical focus on the hands, the shoulders, even the eyes, even the feet and legs of your opponent, you're actually getting overwhelmed. You're trying to capture everything in a chaotic moment. It's very hard and taxing for your mind to do. What you want to do is center your vision. So let's use a really expensive graphic to display what I'm talking about. So if you're looking at all these little details, you're only catching one thing at a time. And also, these parts can lie to you, meaning a feint can trick you. I can feint with my hands, I can feint with my shoulders, my head. I can feint with my feet, with my footwork. But this part doesn't lie. If I can read my opponent's center, their center of gravity, where they're moving from here, it's a lot easier to capture everything else that they're going to do. If somebody moves here, you know that the most danger is coming from this side and vice versa on this side. You'll capture the leg movements from here if your vision's here. If you try to watch every single thing and critical focus on individual things, that's where you're going to have problems defensively. If you can use your peripheral vision to a degree, you'll capture more and see more, and it will make you a better defender. And it's almost like you can have this radar-like sense, like Daredevil, anticipating every bit of your opponent's moves. Now, remember in the beginning, I mentioned how Daredevil has heightened senses, particularly his hearing. He has really heightened hearing. He can hear people from 2 doors down, maybe even further. He can hear your heartbeat and can tell if you're lying. Now, we can't increase our hearing senses, but what we can do is improve our listening. Now, here's a great drill that I'm going to recommend you guys to do if you're training alone, and how you can use this to work your anticipation through listening. So what you're going to do is you're going to find an app. There's a ton of them out there that have audio cues, so that it's a training app, for example, like a pro boxing timer, something that emulates a boxing or kickboxing class where they're calling out strikes. I'll leave some examples in the description that you can download yourself that are available on both Android and iOS. Many of these apps have features that have preset combos, or you can have them randomized. Now, typically, when you hear jab, you would throw your jab. If you hear a cross, you'll throw a cross, and so on. But with this drill, what you're going to do instead is you're going to do the defensive action for each call. So let's say the drill calls for a jab. When you hear jab, instead of doing the offense, you're going to do the defense. So when they call jab, I want you to slip. And when they call the cross, you can slip to the other side. If they throw a hook, you can roll, and so on. Adopt the defensive movements that are being called out for. That was a bug. My radar senses kicked in. Anyway, so as I was saying, you'll want to use the appropriate defensive reactions to the strikes that are being called out from that app. So let's say you're shadow fighting and then you're moving and then you hear jab, you slip, or you decide to parry. Then you hear cross, you might want to block, or you hear hook, you roll, and then you continue your shadow fighting. This makes and takes your shadow fighting to the next level where you're incorporating appropriate defensive reactions. Maybe there's kicks coming in, you're moving, and all of a sudden they say roundhouse, and then you have to check. Play around with it, see what works, see how quick you can react to those defensive moves. Is it perfect? Does it emulate real combat? No, but it does give you a chance to heighten your ability to use reactions while you're in movement. And that will get you closer to having or adopting those Daredevil-like reflexes. So the final drill we're going to work on is actually some reflexive response. And we're going to need a tennis ball. You've probably seen a lot of combat sports athletes use tennis balls to practice their dodging. There you have to avoid. You've seen Lomachenko do it in his training as a boxer. Izzy Adesanya uses it a lot for improving his reflexes. You even had Alex Pereira do it himself too. So what we're going to do is work on unpredictability. We're going to take the ball in our dominant hand to start, and we're going to throw it off the wall, but we're going to be in our fighting stance. The goal is to try to use a defensive reaction as you catch the ball. So we're also working the hand-to-eye coordination with catching, but we're not just working on the catch, we're working on our defensive reaction. So this could get messy, it's unpredictable. I don't know exactly where the ball might land if I do throw the ball to the wall, unless I have perfect precision, but I'm just going to throw randomly. And then I try to catch, but I catch it in a defensive movement. So here, maybe I try to catch with my left. I drop the ball, but it doesn't really matter. I still adopted my defensive reaction. It still hit my hand. That could be the equivalent of parrying a punch. So you try to get better at catching. I'm trying to somewhat dodge the ball. I could even dodge it. Maybe I don't have to catch it. I could just decide to move. But you get the idea. Try to practice this. This is the best alternative to doing it without a partner. But it adds another layer because you're trying to dodge and catch ideally. So this concludes our video on how to develop a realistic radar sense like Daredevil and how we can apply it to combat sports. And if you like this video and like content just like this, please don't forget, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow along with Art of Warcat, where we break down different fighting styles, fighters, and fictional fighters, and how we can adopt those concepts into real life. And if you check this video out, you'll see which fighter I think was the closest to being a real-world Batman, at least the Batman of combat sports. And if there's any other kind of fighter or fictional fighter that you'd like me to cover, please drop their name in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.